I would say that if you're looking at this industry, don't tip your toe in it. Dive in wholeheartedly, learn it as much as you can, connect yourself with someone that's where you want to be in life, and let them kind of help you navigate the shortfalls. But here's the thing. It's going to be tough. You're going to fail. So fail fast and fail often.
Hey, welcome back to the Power Player Podcast. I'm your host, Cody Askins. Today's guest, let me give you some light. I'm going to give you some of the highlights of today's guest. I can promise you this will be one of the top interviews ever done. And I don't say that every single time, by the way. Yeah, I've said it a few times, and they've been good when I've said it. And I promise you I'm going to deliver today. In 2021, this gentleman did $21 million in paid premium, protecting 5,831 families, helping 301 different unique riders, always average 20, 30 grand a month on his own pen for $250,000 every year. Has had big income months, is really close to closing on being a 7-figure earner, and is absolutely phenomenal at those. All sound good, Mike, but what I really like about you, man, is you have a massive heart. You care a lot about people. And today we're going to help thousands, if not tens of thousands of agents become better at selling insurance. From Trustworthy Financial, Mr. Mike Hall.
Man, well, thank you so much for having me, Cody. It's an honor to be here with you today.
Dude, I appreciate you being here, man. Like I'm loving getting to get to know you more, hang out with you more. We're going to be in person, whether it's here or whether it's out there with you. Man, for those that don't know your story, and I'm getting to know it really well. And again, I'm telling you guys, we're going to go deep. We're going to go into his story. We're going to go into like actual value of what's happening and what he's doing. You're going to see Mike and myself together a lot. Again, Mike Hall, Trustworthy Financial. For those that don't know you and your story, man, who is Mike, and how did you end up here today?
You know, that's a great loaded question, Cody. And if it starts back at the beginning, right? And I'm the oldest of 5 children. My parents met in Bible college. And it's kind of funny. I was actually born in a small little town called Lynchburg, Virginia, that most people have never heard of. Wow. My dad felt a calling to move to Baltimore and start a church. Didn't know anybody there, uprooted the family. So we moved there when I was 2 years old. Growing up as the oldest of 5 kids, you know, seeing my dad be able to serve people his entire life, that really impacted me. That made me want to serve people well, but I never had the calling. I never wanted, really public speaking was one of my biggest fears. I never had the desire to ever be a pastor or do anything like that. But I loved how people called him when they were in need, and I saw the difference that he made. Now, I don't want to say we grew up poor because we didn't, but we had everything we needed, you know, but I don't have memories of getting new clothes, getting new shoes, and nothing wrong with that. I just wanted to create a different lifestyle for my family. But growing up, I was average at best at everything. I played soccer. I remember getting to high school and just feeling lost. You know, it's like there were so many people that knew the direction they wanted to go in life. And I remember being terrified because I had no clue. I had some friends that were volunteer firefighters. My grandfather was a firefighter for a while.
Wow.
I started volunteering at age 14, thought, okay, well, this is a way that I can help people. If I can get into this profession, I can help people. But being an introvert my entire life, not wanting to be the highlight of the party, if you will, the center of the room, wanting the attention on me. It was a way I was able to help people without directly interacting with them at a level like you do in sales.
Yep.
And so before that happened, while I was volunteering, I had a buddy in high school that was going to go to the Citadel. He was going to become a fighter pilot. He was going to join the Marines and change the world. And to this day, you would think I'd remember what this was from. I don't remember, but we had a bet about something. I don't remember what it was. And I just remember that he was supposed to leave for boot camp the next day. And I remember thinking, okay, well, I'm 1,000% right on whatever this bet was. You'd think I'd remember it. And whatever it was, I was wrong. And there was something that my dad used to always tell me growing up that I couldn't shake. I mean, I felt it in my gut at this very moment that I'm making this decision. And something he always told me growing up was, your word is your bond.
Amen.
Once you lose that, then what do you have left? That's the one thing somebody can't take from you. And I remember being 18 years old and thinking, nobody thinks that I'm going to do what I said. Nobody thinks I'm going to go follow through and go to boot camp. And I just remember thinking, do I want to start my adult life out on a lie?
Yeah.
Well, I got to tell you, that's a pivotal point in my success right then and there, because if I didn't make that one decision on that day, coming out of high school as a scared 18-year-old, there's no way in this world, there's no possible way that I'd be where I'm at today. I was active duty for 2 years. Fast forward 2 years, I got hired by the fire department, not just any fire department, but Baltimore City, Maryland. At the time, it was one of the most respected departments in the country. I took a huge pay cut to do that. Just before I was doing that, when I went to the reserves with the Marines, I was a 911 dispatcher for Baltimore County, Maryland, making about $35,000 a year. I left there to get hired by the fire department at $19,000 a year. Absolutely loved what I did. After 3.5 years, I'd reached top pay, making about $55,000 a year. When I signed up for the Marines, I'd signed up for 6 years. My time had come and gone. And I remember thinking that I had a lot of friends that went overseas, and some came back and some didn't. And the ones that did, they came back a little bit different. And I just remember feeling like I didn't do my part as a man, a Marine, or an American by not going. So I volunteered to go overseas. I trained with an infantry unit that I didn't know out of Texas, I think they're out of Houston, Texas. And I went to Iraq with the Marines, with infantry in 2000. Let's see here. I'll never forget this. We actually landed in the country on August, I think it was August 15th. It was at midnight. It was still like 140 degrees outside. And we were there until March of 2005. And I'll tell you that while I was there, and really when I came back from that, it really gave me a new perspective on life. And we lost some good people while we were there. We got hit about about 2 months before we came home, and lost 4 of our guys that we directly worked with right there. Jeez. And then came home. And, when I got back in the groove of things, I found it very difficult to get back into normal life, to be able to function again. A lot of guys I was in Iraq with, to this day, they really have trouble functioning in life. But I'll tell you, if I rewind a little bit, I think that it's funny how God lines everything up, because all this experience that I had in the fire department, it really prepared me for what I was going to go through in Iraq. And a lot of the kids, and I'm going to call them kids, I was the old man when I was there. I was 25 years old, and all these kids were 18, 19 years old. Gosh. And most of them had never even seen their grandparents dead in a funeral home. And I had already seen so much trauma and death and just bad stuff before I went there. I really just feel like it helped prepare me for that experience. Well, come home, I get back into my job at the fire department, loved what I did, but fast forward to 2009, and I started having some lung issues. And I went to a bunch of lung experts around the country to try to dive in and figure out what it was. Ultimately, I ended up losing my job in the fire department. I had to take a medical retirement because of all the burn pits over there and everything that you breathe and the sandstorms. And so it got bad enough that I had to leave the fire department. And so here I am, 2009, barely got through high school. I ran from college. I had zero interest in going to college. I'd been a paramedic all these years in the fire department. I was actually starting a bridge course between paramedic and physician's assistant. Decided I didn't want to go that direction. And I found myself with a firm grasp on an empty sack. It's like, what am I going to do with my life now? Sales was the last thing on my mind. I had never done any type of sales. Yeah. I was the guy that didn't speak to myself in the elevator, let alone you if I saw you.
Yeah. You said you're an introvert. That makes sense. Yeah.
And so I got introduced to network marketing, liked the concept, but I saw that it took thousands of people to make a livable income. Yeah. Through that, I was introduced to the insurance industry. And I got my license. I saw this opportunity for the first time in August of 2011. I got my insurance license beginning of September. Between September and the end of that year, I was able to make about $30,000 on my own pen, just out there trying to figure it out part-time. And what I learned, Cody, was that I learned that I was good enough to figure it out if I applied myself to it. And I remember going to my very first insurance conference just a couple of months after I'd got my license. I had to use my mortgage money to get there. I was dead broke in every way, but I had a dream. I had a dream that I wanted to become more, and I wanted to affect more, and I wanted to help more. Didn't know how I was going to get. I didn't have the education. I didn't have the financial means. And I remember sitting in the back of this room watching all these people go across stage. And I remember them, all these $100,000 income earners and more. This is how narrow-minded my thinking was. At the time, I was making about 60, 65, maybe $70,000 a year with overtime and everything that I was doing together. And I remember thinking, if I could one day make $100,000 a year, my life is going to be, it's going to change forever. I burnt the ship that first year, my first full year in 2012. We were blessed enough to do over $250,000 our very first year in income. And then the rest has just been history. I'd like to call this journey a personal development program with a highly paid compensation package attached to it. Yeah. The person that I've become over the last 12 years is not anywhere close to the person I was when I started. And I'm praying that 12 years from now, I'm not any close to where I am today.
Phenomenal story, man. Oh my gosh. You took us on a journey. And for those listening, this dude is preaching, right? Like, and I don't mean like your father does, right? But I mean, like, you have a passion and an excitement about you and energy about you that you can transfer even through, our StreamYard link, through the podcast, right? Through the YouTube, through into someone's car and their phone. There's a few things you mentioned I want to go back to and kind of highlight and kind of question about, right? And just kind of use those as learning lessons. Oldest of five. I was the oldest. I am the oldest of four. What was that like? And how do you think that helped you later in life? Oldest of five. Do you ever look back on that and think about that? Because I do, but I'm a control freak, and I'm not typically known as an introvert, but you, maybe compared to my wife, but you were the oldest of five, and you probably had to step up from time to time. Talk through that piece. Do you ever think about that?
Oh, all the time. There's 10 years between me and the youngest. So 3 boys and 2 girls. And it was a completely different environment for my youngest brother than it was for me growing up. In a lot of ways, I'm very grateful that I was the first because my parents were harder on me than they were on the others. But growing up as a pastor's son, that was tough. Always being under a microscope and always, having people, see your life. So 1, being a pastor's kid, and then 2, being the oldest of 5, really just with them being young parents and trying to figure it out. Yeah, I have incredible parents, but yeah, no, it was definitely a little bit more challenging, but I'm grateful for that because I don't know that I'd be where I was today if I wasn't the oldest.
Yeah.
It really helped me get uncomfortable and
you got uncomfortable a lot, by the way. You got uncomfortable a lot. So, shoot, even starting at volunteering and helping at 14, which is super special. But there's one thing I want to go to that you mentioned too. How does someone that is average, supposedly average at sports, average at standing out, average at a lot, for your words, in your life, go and transition to being a severely above average person in our industry?
Most of my life, it's been fear. Most of my life, it's been trying to fit in. It's been trying to be liked. One of the things that I think have worked to my advantage and against me is that I'm a people pleaser by nature. I'm a giver. I like to see other people happy. And if I'm being honest, it's not ability. I just never fully applied myself, whether it were sports, even in the Marines. I felt like I was a good Marine, but I felt like I could have been better. A fireman, same thing. I worked with an elite group, but I felt like I could have been better. I felt like I had only scratched the surface of my potential. And then when I saw something like this, and people use these cliches a lot, they use the cliches of once in a lifetime opportunity. And when I saw network marketing, that's what really got me on the journey of understanding that I can become more than what I am, that I can change the way that I think by the information that I bring in, right? The way that we have what wealthy people have is we learn to think the way wealthy people think, and we do that through their words, which are put down in books. And so once I understood that, and I've never read an entire book my entire life from cover to cover until I got into this business. And I just knew that, okay, so it was more of a fear of what I was running away from than what I was running to. There's a book that talks about German shepherds and gold medals. Some people are running after accolades, money, status, things like that. Some people are running from something. I was running from having a job. I was running from someone having their control over me. I was running from, I wanted my daughters to understand that they don't have to follow the crowd. They don't have to do what everybody else is doing. It's okay to be different. It's okay to take a chance, and it's okay to fight for what you believe in.
Yes. Man, that is so good, dude. I'm already loving listening to you. I guarantee others are as well as soon as they hear this. Introvert. There's a lot of people that are going to be like, they're going to look at the industry, or they're going to be in it, and they're going to say, I'm an introvert. I can't make it. And I'm not even a guy that likes the label per se, just of calling yourself whatever you are, or other people putting it on you for you, right? It's one thing if you decide that's what you are, but if other people are like, you're this, it's like, like Les Brown, right? They said he was educably mentally slow, right? Dude turned out to be one of the sharpest, best speakers in the world, right? In history. What would you say to those that are like, yeah, I've been labeled, man. Maybe it's not even introvert. Maybe maybe I'm an introvert, or I'm depressed, or I'm dumb, or you know what I mean? Like all these labels, all these things people are hearing. What would you say to those people?
Well, and I've got to be careful too, because words are things. Words are powerful. So we need to be careful what we speak out of our mouth, because we're hearing that with our internal ear, and it goes into our subconscious and solidifies there. But I heard the best description of introverts and extroverts a couple of years ago. And the way it was explained to me is an extrovert starts their day with a handful of coins, or no, with no coins. And every interaction they have with a different human, there's another coin put into their hand. An introvert starts their day with a handful of coins, and every interaction we have, it takes another coin out of your hand. So by the end of the day, you're just exhausted. So I think it's more the way you feel, not necessarily with your actions and what you do.
It's good.
And I've always been that, and maybe that was brought on to me by things that were taught to me when I was young. How many times have you been told no when you were younger? A lot more times than you were told yes. How much does that affect your subconscious and the way that you grow up? And then if your parents are saying that you're shy all your life, when you take ownership of that, there was something that I sent you a text over the weekend. Let me bring this up. There was something that I posted on Facebook, and I think it really answers the question that you just asked. And I was watching a video with Bishop T.D. Jakes. He was interviewing his main keyboardist at their church there. And as a matter of fact, not only is this guy the main keyboardist, but he's also the head of acquisitions for his real estate business. And Bishop T.D. Jakes asked him this. He said, how committed were you to discovering who you really were? Here's his answer. He says, wow, I'm trying not to get emotional. I realized in order to do what I needed to do, there are some generational things that had to be broken. So it would cost me everything. So I had to ask myself, knowing that it would cost me everything, was I willing to pay the price? And I couldn't not say yes. Yes was the only option for me. I knew it would cost me everything. And some days I didn't know how much it would cost. I just knew it would be worth it. And that really sums up my answer, because it's like, I knew that if I wanted a shot to to make it. I had to believe in me. I had to bet on me. Nobody was going to do it for me. And at the end of the day, if I didn't make it, Cody, and I was okay if I didn't make it, I wanted it to be because I left it all on the field and I wasn't good enough, not because I left it in the tank and I was too scared to take action. I think that change is one of the most difficult things in the world to do. I don't think you or I are good enough to make anybody change. But I think that when somebody's ready, and I was ready, I was hungry, I think when somebody's ready, there's nobody that can stop them.
Man, that's good. Also, for those that are like, okay, I like this dude, man. I got to follow this dude. I want to interact with this dude. I want to talk to him more. I want to speak to him. Mike is sharing from his Facebook personal profile right now, Michael A. Hall on Facebook, owner and CEO at Trustworthy Financial. You can see former firefighter at BCFD, worked at Baltimore City Fire Department, former emergency vehicle driver at Baltimore City Fire Department, like a lot of stuff, right? And you can see all of his posts. I mean, today it was like, hey, yesterday it was like, hey, one day everything will fall into place and you'll finally understand that after all the hardships and battles you went through, all of it was leading you to what you were searching for, right? You just posted that yesterday, dude. A lot of positive, inspirational stuff. A lot of people use social media to vent. You don't. Talk to me about that.
Everyone's got something going on all the time. Nobody wants to hear about my problems. Everyone's got problems. And, I want to be a light in the dark world. I want to give people hope. And it's just because I don't post them doesn't mean I don't have them. I just want to show people that I'm bigger than the issues going on in my life and I'm able to rise above that for the greater good. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of negative out there and I just don't know that, I just don't want to participate in that.
Yeah. You're choosing not to, man. Okay. You guys are listening to this. You have to go check him out on Facebook, follow him, friend him, let him know, man, Mike, I really enjoyed today's episode. This has been a lot of fun. Next piece I want to jump into, buddy, is you did what most never do, which was not only serve in the military, so thank you, but you also went overseas and went to Iraq, right? August 04 to March of 05. You said something earlier where you're like, I just felt like I needed to do this, like obligation, right? As an American, as you just, you know what I mean? And most people, they fight going overseas, for being honest, now there's a lot that willingly do. And there's, like we could go on for days about just how much respect I have for the military and people that choose to do that and put their life on the line. It's truly incredible. But you wanted to, and then you did. Where does that piece come from? Because most people, they get the letter, they're like, and they go home and they're like, yeah, I've got to go overseas. And they're like, they don't want to, but you wanted to, it seemed like. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know that I necessarily wanted to go, but I wanted to be able to live with myself and the decisions I made, whatever that was. And I can't put my finger on it, but there was something in my gut that told me that I needed to do it. And I'll tell you, when I joined the Marines, and look, and I don't know how many people can relate to this, but I was listening to, I'm gonna circle back to this answer. I was listening to Grant Cardone speak at 8% last year. And one of the things that he was talking about is how incredibly supportive his mom always was. And she was always there for him. But at the end of his talk, he talked about how she never lifted him up. She never pushed him out of her comfort zone. That was me. Like, my parents always were 1000% supportive of everything I did. But when I made the decision to join the Marines, everybody was like, Mike, you sure you want to do that? You realize how tough this is. Do you think you can make it? And then it's been the story of my life. And then when I joined the insurance department, the insurance industry, it was the same thing. It was, Mike, when are you going to get a real job? Mike, when are you going to stop playing businessman? Mike, when are you going to do this? So it's just been one of those things that I've always known that if I'm not going to fight for me, why is anybody else? And I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question. It was just a feeling in my gut that I didn't want to. There's another story that I don't know if we get into now or later, but about 7 years ago, just before I came to the company that I'm at now, I'd already made hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in this business. I'd had fairly large success with growing teams. And then there were some decisions that were made by me and the other place that I was. And And I went from here in income down to here. My expenses were still up here. And I found myself 8 hours away from home one day, no money in the bank, $10 in my pocket. And I had my third daughter was born. She was a newborn at home, and I couldn't afford to put diapers on her.
Ooh.
And I remember coming to this realization, me and God and I had it out. We had a conversation, and I was banging on my steering wheel. I was like, God, why? All these years, everything that I've done, it's just like, I've done everything that I can do to make it. Why would you bring me this far just to let us end up here? But here's the problem, Cody. Any person in their right mind would have quit that day. But there was something deeper in me. I wanted something more. If I would have quit that day, there's no way I would have seen everything that he had prepared for me after that day that's led to where we are this moment right now with you and I having a conversation. Never would have happened.
Yes.
Never would have happened. So you gotta, it starts with a decision. You got to decide who you're going to be and what your life's going to be about. And then surround yourself with people that can help you get there.
Dude, you're such a good storyteller. I'm over here getting goosebumps just interviewing you. Like, I'm serious.
You're going to learn I'm a crier. So
dude, you're going to get me there. You're going to get me there at some point. As much as we're going to hang out this year, that you're going to get me there. You got into insurance August 2011, September of 2011 till the end of the year, you made 30 grand over the last 4 months of the year, which is special. I know if we look at what you're doing now compared to then, it's like, it sounds so small. But if we compare it to the agent that in the first 4 months made $300, it's so big. Why you, like average and then not so average anymore? And you're jumping out and earning 30 grand your first 4 months.
That's a good question. I haven't really been able to put this into words myself either, but I just know that God gave me a dream when I was young that's evolved over time. I'm not sure what that dream was when I was younger, other than I wanted to make a difference.
Yeah.
And I wanted
You're doing that, by the way. You're doing that in a big way.
And I wanted my family to be able to live a different lifestyle. And so I've just been blessed to have this North guiding star, I guess. Maybe it's my dad. Maybe it's the example that he set, loving on people his entire life. But I don't know. It's a good question. I've always felt like I was created for more. I feel like there's so many people out there that feel that way. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like I was equipped with necessarily the talent. I definitely don't have the outgoing personality where I go out and purposely network. I don't know. It's a good question. I've always wanted more, and I've always fought for that. And I've just been blessed to be around the right people in the right situations. Yeah.
When you look back on those first 4 months and then even the next year, 2012, where your first full year, you made $250,000, which is, has anybody in the history of your family ever made $250,000?
Not at the time.
Right.
Let me just say, answer part of your question that you just asked me. That $30,000 that I earned from September to the end of the year, realize like that's about half of what I made that entire year as a full-time firefighter in one of the most deadly cities in America after being there 10 years. So when I saw that I could do 30,000 in a quarter, which is half of what I was going to do for the entire year in my full-time job, that made me realize that if I was willing to get uncomfortable and really apply myself, I may not make it, but I would have a shot.
Yeah. Well, people say like, yes, we had to get uncomfortable. We had to do so. You have to, there's insurance is tough. Dude, you were running and burning buildings. And then you like got to trade that, if you want to call it that, for pick up the phone and call in a lead, right? Like, people say, dude, insurance is so tough. I just can't do it. It's like, dude, there's people, their profession is running in buildings that are on fire to save people. And then they end up with lung damage, right? Like you talked about. It's hard to compare the two, but most people are like, man, it's so difficult. It's so difficult. Was the transition potentially easier for you because you were running into burning buildings?
don't think so. I mean, I'd much rather run into a burning building than pick up the phone in the beginning and call a lead.
Wow.
I got to be honest with you.
Wow.
Everything that I've done between the fire department, between the Marines, I mean, going to Iraq, I wasn't scared to go to Iraq. When stuff went down, I wasn't scared in the moment. Now, looking back on some of the situations we were in, I could see how people would be that way. But Cody, I remember when I got into this business and I picked up that phone for the first time. I've got one right here. I picked up this phone for the first time. It was like 800 pounds. And the person that introduced me into this business was gone within 6 months. So I didn't really ever have any mentorship other than directly from the companies I was working in to try to figure it out. And again, it goes right back to the finality of if I were to quit, then failure is imminent. It's guaranteed. There's no shot. Mm-hmm. I probably won't make it now. And I don't know if I can, but I got a shot. That's what I held on to every day, right? It's kind of like you'll hear a lot of alcoholics will say, people say, well, are you ever going to drink again? Well, it's not going to be today, right? Well, Mike, are you going to quit? Well, not today. Maybe tomorrow, but I'm not going to quit today. And I just held on to that each day.
How often does a recruiter quit in our industry?
Oh man, people quit all the time.
Person that recruited you in, right? That was the person helping you. I mean, I think about that a lot. Like how often that's happening in our space right now, where people are being brought in. I estimate there's over 500,000 agents currently in the U.S. that have been brought in, and they're just lost. Mm-hmm. They're struggling. They're thinking about quitting, and they're just lost. One thing I want to mention too is you talked earlier about negative voices. I can relate to my in-laws saying, "Hey, Cody, go get a real job." I can relate to that. People are hearing that, and you're hearing that in everything you do, right? Don't join the military. Don't go overseas. Don't be a firefighter. Are you kidding me? I mean, it's funny. I remember my brother-in-law was thinking about becoming a cop, and the first thought was, man, don't become a cop nowadays, Well, the dude, that was something he wanted to do, right? What do you say to someone, and how do you coach them through them hearing the negative voices of their family and friends telling them that this industry is not going to be it for them? They're never going to make it, and they weren't meant to do this.
That is a great question. I think there's a lot of incredible people with incredible intentions that do a lot more harm than what they think that they're doing. And, I had a lot of my family, my friends have always been supportive to in their eyes to a point. And, at the end of the day, I feel like we're all created uniquely. We all have what it takes to do this business. Yeah. If you feel like you're selling someone something in this business, then that's how it's being perceived by the client. That we've got, when I was a firefighter, I showed up at the worst time. We're typically the worst time in their life. Today, we've got a crystal ball. We know that worst time's coming. We know no one's getting out of this world alive. We know that with living benefits and things like that we offer, that chances of someone having a heart attack, stroke, or cancer and not dying is pretty high. So we know that we can bless people that way. And we know that death is going to happen to all of us. And so all we're doing is we're having a conversation with people, and we're showing them their situation in a way that they've never looked at it. Mm-hmm. And we're just helping the people that want the help. So if you're somebody that wants to make a difference, if you're somebody that loves people, if you're somebody that really wants to be that mentor, that guide to somebody to help them have something that's going to be one of the worst days of their life not be quite as bad because you were able to get uncomfortable and have a conversation with them. I think that right now we need to block out the noise from people we know, noise from people we don't know. Yeah. I think that there's a lot of overnight successes on social media. So a lot of people are skeptical of opportunities like this. Mm-hmm. But when we look at the insurance industry in whole, we know from a common sense standpoint that more than 90 plus cents out of every dollar goes through insurance at some level. We know that it's just math with what we do. We know that it's one of the most predictable industries out there. We know it's one of the most scalable industries out there. And so if you're somebody that wants to build a business in the United States of America, what other business would you have the best shot of going into and building without an education, without money? You can come in and get an insurance license for $200, $200 or $300, and you can build a multi 7 or 8 figure dollar income just by applying yourself and becoming a better version of you. You know, we people that chase the money don't get it. Money is a byproduct of the value that we provide. And if we can just focus on, if Mike Hall can focus on becoming and this is what Grant was talking about in his talk too, right? The second part of that conversation was he wasn't happy with himself because he knew there was another level to hit. And so if we can just focus on becoming the best version of ourselves, that's what's going to give us the best shot of winning in this business.
Yes.
Focus on you, not everybody else. You're going to attract who you are, not who you want. So focus on becoming the example that you wish that you had.
It's good. It's good. It's such an amazing industry. Recession proof, more millionaires in financial services, any other industry in the world. It's incredible, man. And you brought up a lot of good points that I don't even know that I don't know if I've heard the one about 90 plus cents of every dollar flows through insurance at some level. That makes a lot of sense the more I think about it. That's really, really strong. You made some call outs there. If someone is out there and they're like, I want to talk to Mike, I want to reach out to him, how do you recommend they do that? What's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Well, I can give you my cell phone number. They can do that. I can give you my email, my website. So my cell phone number is area code 443-271-9317. So they're more than welcome to call or text me. My email is simple. It's mhall@trustworthy.life, or they could go straight to our website, which is trustworthy.life.
I love it. That's so good. Man, I feel like we could hang out and talk for hours, man. Like, this is a blast. You are such a good interview, I guess is what I call it, you know. But dude, you're so good. Here's one thing I wrote down that I didn't want to forget to mention, and I'm going to interview Mike more this year just because I'm really enjoying interviewing him, so I want to have him back. You said something that it was a unique note that I wanted to mention, but I was like, man, that's a cool question. I'm trying to find these. I try to find unique questions from your story that others can learn from your past. You mentioned how it was a different environment for your youngest sibling who was 10 years younger, right? And really entered whatever you want to call it, adulthood, workforce, et cetera, 10 years later than you. Well, if you look at you compared to new agents today, they're entering insurance. They're not a younger sibling, but they're entering insurance 10 years, later than you, right? 12 years, whatever. It was a different environment for the youngest sibling when they got to your age later in life, right? From a family dynamic.
Right.
It's also a different environment for those that are entering in the insurance industry today. What advice would you give to those that are entering it today, 2022, 2023, 2021, 2024, whatever, versus when you entered back in 2011?
When I talk to a lot of younger people today, one of the things that I'm consistently hearing is that younger people today want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. They want to be helping other people. They're not so income driven as they are. And I don't know how to word that, but they want to make a difference. They want to be difference makers. So, if you were to look at the difference that we're able to make in people's lives, I don't know. I mean, I put this right up there with being a pastor, a teacher, a firefighter, a paramedic, a doctor. Where else can you go and find something as noble as what we do? On the other hand, where else can you go and have the freedom that we've got, the freedom to fail as many times as it takes? This is the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life. Not because picking up a phone and calling the lead is hard, but because of building. I've always battled with self-confidence my entire life. And this business has really changed that, but so you got to be confident in who you are. But when you look at and I don't know the exact amount, I thought I remembered it being like 93 cents out of every dollar goes through the insurance industry. Maybe it's nowhere near that, but it's a lot of money, right? There's a lot of money in the insurance industry. And the thing is it's just math. So I think if they want to make a difference, a real difference in their generation, if they want to be able to have control over their income on how much they work, how little they work, they've got the ability to do that. And if they want to be able to scale it as big as what their dreams will take them, they've got the ability. Here's the biggest thing that I learned when I got started, though. And the biggest thing I learned was being your own boss can be the best thing in the world, but it can also be the worst thing in the world. So don't look at this as a shortcut. There's no shortcuts to success. If you see anyone that's having success or that's an overnight success, you got to look at the 20 years of struggle they had that got them to where they're at. Mm-hmm. And if you didn't pay the price in this industry, you paid it somewhere else. So just understand that you can't avoid failure. If you want to succeed in anything, especially this, you need to embrace failure and you fail fast. And you need to, it's all about activity. You got to put as much activity in as you can in a small amount of time. That way you're building off of that and creating that momentum. And then you just have to focus on becoming the example that you wish that you had. Don't go out there and hire someone that you think's a whole lot better that's going to take you to the top, because it doesn't work that way. They're going to do half of what they see you do, not what they hear you say.
So good, dude. So good. Mike, I'm loving interview you, man. You are doing, this is a phenomenal job by you, just sharing your story, being vulnerable, transparent. Any advice in closing? How would you like to wrap this up? Been a phenomenal interview.
Man, I'll just, first of all, thank you for having me on here today. This is,
Thank you.
I'm really excited, for our journey this year and to get to know you better. And I would just say this, we were all created uniquely and we all have a purpose, and you can be anything. And I get it. You can't be anything that you want to be, but, because we don't always have the same, I couldn't be a professional sports player just because of my build, right? It's just not in me. But you were created for a purpose. And if you focus on that purpose, it's going to lead you down the path. I believe that the small decisions matter. I don't believe in coincidences. I believe that the harder you work, the luckier you can get. And so I would say that if you're looking at this industry, don't tip your toe in it. Dive in wholeheartedly. Learn it as much as you can. Connect yourself with someone that's where you want to be in life, and let them kind of help you navigate the shortfalls. But here's the thing. It's going to be tough. You're going to fail. So fail fast and fail often.
Let's do it.
And then on the other end of it, you'll see the version of you that you've always wondered existed.
Let's go, man. Let's go. If you want to reach out to Mike, I think it was 443-271-9317, right?
Yes, sir.
443-271-9317. Shoot him a text, shoot him a call, or mhall@trustworthy.life, or his website, trustworthy.life. Mike Hall with Trustworthy Financial. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Cody. Appreciate it.
Dude, appreciate you, brother. Thank you for listening to this episode. I'm telling you what, if you love this episode as much as I did, as I'm hanging out here listening, I'm getting coached up by Mike Hall today, then let us know in comments. Shoot Mike a message. Shoot me a message, man. Let's spread this out. If you're like, dude, I love this message. Other people in my life need to hear this. Then share it with them, okay? And go thank Mike. Thank you guys for listening to Power Player Podcast. I can't promise they will all be this freaking awesome. But either way, I hope you'll be there for the next one. See you next time. Hey, if you enjoyed this, I got another one you're going to love. It's right there. Click on it. See you in there.
Yeah, if you take 25 leads, make 20 contacts per week, whether they say no or yes, then several agents writing over $200,000 of annual premium, netting over $100,000 a year.
Which is amazing. And you